Hey, Rick Bayek here, and I am so excited for you to be a part of what I'm doing, what I call my successful recovery journey. So, let me tell you a little bit about me. Back 34 years ago, I was lost. I was stuck in a horrible addiction. My marriage was ending. I had a 2-year-old daughter. My prospects for work were shrinking. It was at the beginning of one of the first recessions I ever knew as an adult, and I was lost. And what I did was I realized I had a huge hole. I had a huge hole that I wound up filling with drugs and alcohol. And it got to a point where the hole was so big, nothing would fill it. Well, push comes to shove. I ended up in rehab. And that time back in that February, I remember when I got out, I realized I couldn't live the life I was living. I was really looking for work again. I had a 2-year-old daughter that I just knew one thing, and one thing that was most important to me is I just didn't want to be a shitty dad. I brought this kid into the world, and I felt a responsibility to be the best version of myself. Well, at that point, I wasn't the best version of myself. Matter of fact, I wasn't helping anybody. The only thing I was able to get was help from this guy, which was my dad. My dad helped me get into rehab, and that was the start of where I was in my journey. But the amazing things I learned along the way were really invaluable. I started out going to meetings, and meetings saved my life. I mean, it was really the place that I learned about a higher intelligence, something bigger and greater than myself, something to think about, understanding that there are principles that I could use to start to change things in my life. When I got there, they said to me, change everything but your name. I didn't know what that meant. I was in my mid 20s. I just didn't really get it. But I knew when I stepped into that room and I looked at all those people, I found people that they have what I wanted. There was a freedom and a happiness in their eyes that I just knew I wanted. So I came back every day and I worked on it and I worked the steps and I got clean and sober and I started to live a good life and things started to come back in my life and I started to understand what living a clean and sober life meant and how it started and how the things just started to steamroll. Well, there were a few things that I was doing that I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of always felt in that early stages I was a glass half full guy. I loved that. I really understood the value of knowing that things are going to be okay. So that principle was great. And the room showed me that. And I started working on some self-help books to get me to a little bit deeper understanding of that. But it wasn't until I found a movie. I'm not sure if any of you guys seen it. It's a movie called The Secret. It's a little movie about the law of attraction. It was at that point I met my first mentor, Bob Proctor. Now, for those of you that don't know Bob Proctor, he was a guy who understood the law of attraction, but the idea of the law of attraction was a secondary law to the law of vibration. But Bob Proctor studied a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he became a student of that book. And for the 60 plus years of his life after he first got that book, he read that book every day. And he mastered that. And he mastered the principles. And so that from that movie where I saw this guy taught me about a simple principle of the law of attraction, I understood that my thoughts really did make things happen. And if I pictured the things I wanted in the way I wanted them, they would turn out okay. And it really worked. I mean, I took that law probably 18 years ago and I just created an amazing life. And I understood how if I just focused on the things I wanted, I could do it. But there was a few things I was doing that I didn't know what I was doing. I was what they called an unconscious competent. And from that, I was successful, but I couldn't tell you and I couldn't show you how. And I was creating businesses, I was having success, and my family grew, and I got remarried. And, at that point, I've got about 6 kids, and I'm teaching them this basic law of attraction and how it works, and that if you think in a certain way, you can create certain things in your life. And I did very well for them. And I taught them how to do these things. And I taught them how to go for that better job. And if they wanted something, let's work together. Let me show you how to do it. Let's picture what it looks like to be in that job. And let's start to go after it as if it's yours. And I started to know that if I owned what I wanted, I could get it. But again, all these principles were things I was doing, but I couldn't tell you how. Well, fast forward to about 3, 4 years ago, I ran into Bob Proctor again in a end of the year seminar he was putting on, a 5-day event. And I was kind of at that point in my life where I've created some success, but I wasn't really completely fulfilled. I enjoyed what I was doing. I had a full life. I've created amazing things and businesses and incomes and all of these things. But when I saw that 5-day, what he called the Jumpstart in a New Year event, everything changed. All of a sudden, I saw what it was I was doing, but I couldn't tell you how. So that one law of attraction, that's when I found out that the law of attraction was the secondary law of the law of vibration. Now, I tell you this because all things are about the laws of the universe. It's a very orderly place where we live. Now, the rooms taught me that because there's certain steps. There's 12 steps that I learned to become a different version of myself. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy I was when I stepped into those rooms 34 years ago. The version of myself today is a version that at the time I knew I wanted and I thought and I saw in my head, but I didn't, again, know really how to do it except just be in action. Well, this 5-day jumpstart made me realize that I found my calling and I understood it. And I went into deep study, and I mean deep study, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 3 years. And I've learned and mastered the principles, and I realized the correlation between the principles. Again, the principles are basic laws of the universe. They're scientific laws. They work for anyone, for anything, for any person in any walk of life. And what I found out is if one person can do something, anybody can do it. So all of a sudden I got an epiphany, and it wasn't that long ago that I realized this stuff will work for people in recovery. And because I realized that my calling became helping men in recovery learn these principles through mindset training and understanding to become the best version of themselves and have an amazing, successful recovery journey. So that's where I started, and I just got into action. Again, we talked about the unconscious competent. So I was doing all of this stuff. I just didn't know how. So through this study, I realized there's a system I can create. There's a way to do this that I can show anyone. But for me, my passion and my desire was to help men in recovery because I saw where I was and I saw where I am today. And I know that if I could do it, anybody can do it. Because that's one of the things my mentors teach me now, is that if one person can do something, anybody can do it. And honestly, it's the sky's the limit. Whatever you want to achieve in your life, you can achieve. We just have to learn to think differently. And what I found out, it's all about that. It's all about how we think. It's all about the way we think. And what I realized is in life, how we think and how we act and how we feel, which is all a composite of our attitude, creates the things in our lives. You know, that law of vibration that I talked about first early on is everything. Because everything in the universe, again, the orderly universe that I talked about, is on a vibration, is on a frequency. The example I'll give you is a radio transmitter, right? You walk around and you look at the air and there's radio waves in the air that we can't see and we can't hear. But if you have that transmitter and you have that radio player, you can tune into a specific frequency and hear that radio station. Well, it's the same for anything in the world. Anything that you want is on a frequency. We just have to learn to get in tune with that frequency. So there was the big one. That was the epiphany, to realize, hey, if I start to understand where what I want is and get on the vibration of it, the law of attraction that I talked about brings you to it. Because I realized we live in such an abundant world. We have so many resources around us. You know, I think we get distracted by outside forces in our life that show us that there's lack and there's limitation and there's fear out there. But the truth is, this world was created for a reason. There's abundance everywhere. And if you look at it, you can see it in nature. You can see it everywhere. But it's all about those things, about how we think and how we feel and how we act. And that attitude I talked about. But also it's a perception. So what I'm going to teach you and what I want you to understand that I will bring to you through this information is all of these little secrets that you need to understand to create the life that you want. whether you're in recovery or whether you're not, whether you're stuck in your life and you just want to find something better or some fulfillment or what your calling is in your life. This stuff works for all of that. So I understood how I can get in action, right? So back to what my unconscious competent self was. I got into action. That was one of the things I was doing. And that was also about decisions. So there's a ton of information that I can teach you and that I want to teach you how to understand to create anything you want in your life. So understand that everything is a matter of understanding how to harness that power. You know, there's a few things that I'll teach you, and there's plenty of videos that are on my YouTube channel. If you find it, click on any of them. One of them is the mind, and we talk about our mind, and we talk about the parts of our mind. There's a conscious mind, and there's a subconscious mind. And we also have what most people do is we live through our five senses. And what I can teach you and I can show you is how to live through something called your higher faculties. These are 6 higher faculties that are inside your own mind, that are God-given abilities that we were given that most people never understand how to use. I can teach you how to master those and harness those for anything that you want. So understand that there's nothing you can't achieve. Understand that I have every reason to want to help you because what I've learned helped me. And my goal in my lifetime and my mission has become to help as many people in my lifetime learn the things that I have found, the secrets and the answers to create the life that you only dreamed of. So that's kind of what my story is. And I wanted you to understand where I came from and why I'm here. I'm here to help. You know, my life, my whole life since I was a kid, every job I ever had was about helping others. You know, I could list a million things that I've done. And they've all been at a higher level of helping people. This to me is the highest calling, and I felt called to serve this. So I'm looking forward to helping as many people as I can in my lifetime do what I do and have the life that they've always wanted, because there's so much out there and everybody has the ability to achieve anything they've ever wanted. It's been proven time and time in history. So listen, I'm excited to work with you if we do. I'm excited for you to listen to some of this information I have. I've got a ton of free resources available anywhere through my website, through my YouTube channel. But anyway, ask me anything. I'm here to help. And remember, have the best day yet.